Welcome to another episode of Think About It, a program where we discuss important issues. My name is Rick, and I have here with me
Steph.
Hi, Steffi.
Hi, babe.
How's it going? We are happy to have you here today. Today we will be discussing mental health. The title of this episode is actually Society's Mental Decline. What do you think when you hear mental decline?
Mental decline means that, to me, they had to be first in a sense. They had to be mentally where, or a level of at least being high. Then declining would, of course, mean that we're going down.
Going down.
That means mentally we're going down. That's what I think.
Yes.
Talking about.
Yes, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. If you know, lately, there is a mental health epidemic in the land. Mental health is, a lot of people are being affected by all types of mental issues, And so we really wanted to address this from a different perspective, not from a medical perspective,
Although I am in the field.
We want to address it from a different perspective, especially like even a Bible perspective.
Right, yeah. I think it's necessary seeing the climate, seeing what's going on in the world today and how we view mental health. I think there's different ways somebody can look at mental health, right? You can either look at it from a strictly clinical perspective, or you can look at it strictly on a societal, like political, geopolitical kind of issue, or you can look at it, simply biblical.
Yeah.
And I think right now, there's a need for all of these aspects to either unite or that the other sides which are not being talked about, for example, the social aspect, needs to actually come to the surface, because right now it's almost strictly clinical. Yes.
And speaking about society's mental descent, we want to look at the first aspect, because today we want to approach it from a spiritual perspective, really. And our topic for today will focus on pride.
Pride. Yeah.
Yes. What role does pride what role does pride play in the mental collapse of society?
My goodness. Yes.
Yes.
It's big, pride can be subtle. A lot of people think that when someone have pride, they have to be they necessarily have to be narcissistic or, pompous, being extremely, overt, acting like they're all of that and everything. That's what typically people think pride is. But pride could be subtle in a sense of, I deserve this. And I think right now, we have that, how do I call it? This is something that I'm seeing a lot in society right now, that thinking that I deserve things. What's the word? When you think you deserve something,
I forgot the word right now.
But basically people believe that they deserve things and good needs to come to me. I deserve the best. I deserve that. And so this is kind of a subtle kind of pride where you think, I am good, and so because I am good or I am great, so therefore I deserve this to be given to me, or I deserve this in my life.
I deserve this blessing, right?
Yeah,
that's the Christian way of saying it.
I'm a child of God, so I deserve to be blessed.
Yes. And before I even go further, we want to look into the definition of pride. What is pride? And I have here definition. I have here actually two definitions. Matter of fact, three definitions. So I'll go ahead and read them. One says pride is defined by Merriam-Webster as reasonable self-esteem or confidence and satisfaction in oneself.
Yeah.
Oxford defines it as a quality of having an excessively high opinion of one's own importance.
Yeah. Ooh.
This is the secular definition.
Yeah.
This is, you know what I'm saying? Like, so pride, when you're dealing with pride, you're already dealing with self-esteem. You're already dealing with like confidence and satisfaction in oneself. Right. So you're already seeing like a focus on one's self. Now, the other definition I had was like a Bible definition. It says that pride points to a sinful individual who shifts ultimate confidence from God to self.
Ooh. Especially for Christians, I think this is something that is so nuanced. For Christians, sometimes you cannot tell whether it is pride or whether this is, I'm going based on claiming the promises of God. For example, with what I was saying earlier, with the blessing and everything, I deserve this blessing. Some people may look at it like, okay, you remember the fight that Jacob had with the angel of the Lord? And then he's like, I will not let go until you bless me. And for some people, they're like, no, Jacob did it in prayer, like, I'm not going to let go because I need this blessing, and it could be so nuanced, like I said, because, with Jacob, for example, his expression of that was because he was already at a low place.
Yes.
He was at a low place. This is not someone who's up there, who's asking to be bought, who's being brought down or something, but he was at such a low place. And then he realized that he needed a savior. And
speaking about a low place, Jacob was not going out there telling people, I'm going to claim God's blessing.
Right.
He was wrestling with God in the night. You know what I'm saying? So that's a whole different scenario. Now, after we mentioned the definition, so we want to look at, okay, how did pride start? Where did pride come from?
Pride came, I would say, clear and simple, it came from the devil.
Yes.
It started in heaven. And it's so interesting that pride is meshed in everything, in every single one of our sins. Because if you think about it, Satan, Lucifer at the time, he had the right to see the good things that was in him. God put it there. God placed, gave him his beauty. So he knew he was a good-looking angel. He knew
the seal of perfection.
Yeah, the Bible said he was the seal of perfection, basically. Like he was perfect in beauty. Like he had it for real. This is not somebody who was tooting his own horn in a sense. He had it for real. But then the issue became when he saw that beauty, he loved that beauty more than the creator of the beauty.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we have an issue. Like a lot of times, there are certain things we want. We're asking God for idols, basically. But God, I need this. I won't let go until you bless me with this. And this thing, in a way, is like asking God to bless us with an idol.
Yeah. And even speaking about Lucifer, I know like in Isaiah chapter 12, chapter 14, the Bible says, how have you fallen from heaven? Remember, we're speaking about here mental health issues, right? We're speaking about what's affecting our society. A lot of people having mental issues left and right. And we are talking about pride. But the beginning of pride, we see the Bible saying, how have you fallen from heaven, Lucifer, son of the morning, right? What caused his fall? He says, I will ascend, right? He's looking at himself and he's saying, look, I am special.
Right.
I deserve more, right? And he's starting to compare himself with other angels. He says, okay, you know what? I will ascend. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God.
Yeah.
Remember, we're still speaking about mental health.
Yeah.
He's starting to compare himself. The more
in the mind. In
mentally, right?
Go ahead.
The more Lucifer became self-focused. He took his eyes off God. He's focusing on himself. He started to compare himself with others, right? And as he started comparing himself with others, he started thinking like, wait a minute, I deserve more in life. I deserve more than God has given me, right? And as he's saying, I deserve more than God has given me, now he started entering into competition with God and with others, right?
Yeah.
So you're starting to see like something is already off with his mental state.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then as a result, the Bible says war broke out in heaven.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we're not seeing how these things play out, physically or outwardly, because the issue is happening in the mind. There are many things we don't do. It's not because we don't want to. It's because we may fear the consequences. We may fear how people view us. But, Satan, Lucifer, was already Satan in his mind before the angels knew it. Before he played it out, he was already against God. And I think with Christians, this is where we come in, like where we have like that kind of that self-importance, that self-exaltation, that people can't see that a lot of times unless you actually go out there and you speak it. And so looking at it in a social aspect, what is it basically that's making us, going on that decline? Was there anything like, how did we get up there in the first place?
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to mention, because as we're speaking about the subject, like in even pride, Lucifer was happy before. He was content with where God made him. And one thing I want to emphasize, you see that no one came and tempted him with pride. He came to his mind. He no longer accepted his position. He no longer accepted what God has given him, right? So his thought process, he started to meditate. He started to meditate on himself and on what he did not have. Right? The more he meditated on what he did not have, what he feel like God should have given him, right? The more unhappy he became. Right? You could say like he was going through depression. Right? He became unhappy. He became miserable in his own mind. And then what did he do? He went and spread that misery to others. So we are seeing here, as we're speaking about mental health issues in society's mental descent, pride is at its very root.
Yes. Pride is at its very root.
At its very root.
And especially in America, there's this kind of like feeling of being the best, being the best nation, having the best morals. One of the things that we don't realize is that we could be proud spiritually as well, where I think I know best, where I think that I have the best moral compass. I've even seen it where we compare ourselves with others. This person is not so good because I'm like that. And I think this is what creates a lot of conflicts when we believe that we're so right morally that we cannot see the other side. And so you start taking actions. Like I said, with for example, with America, with us in this society, you start taking actions because you start believing that I have the right to basically respond because this person is in the wrong or this nation is in the wrong. These people are in the wrong. So then now I have the right to, because I already believe in myself, I already believe that what I'm saying is correct. Now I am already in the right to respond to their incorrectness. And so you start looking down on other people. You start thinking that you're better than them. And so you start behaving that they're less than. But
you know what's funny though? The more you look down on other people, you would always look up and find somebody who's higher than you. So you're not happy still.
It's never over.
So you're not happy. It's never over, right? And so we see that mental, collapse, mental descent, right? Society's mental descent, it begins with pride. Like I said, we're not speaking about somebody who's clinically depressed, people that have hormonal issues, people that have all type of different issues.
Please confirm that we're not talking about
We're not talking about that. We are speaking about individuals who having the regular type of mental thing that's sweeping the land, where people are feeling, I'm depressed, or I'm having a lot of these things. A lot of these things begin with pride. With self-focus, right?
Self-importance.
With self-importance. With thinking that you are better than others, with thinking that you deserve more than others, and with making these constant comparisons with others, etc. So now the other thing, the next question I have for you and we want to discuss, how does pride affect our mental health?
Okay, so one of the things we have to see where it comes from first, right? Not only is the devil working hard to plague our minds with these feelings of self-importance, but also a lot of times we are raised these ways, where your family, your upbringing, even your schooling, your education system is telling you that you can be whatever you want to be, and that, you deserve the best. Like, if you look at those self-help books.
As you mentioned, you can be whatever you want to be. We're speaking about pride. That's what the transgender movement is all about.
let's not go there.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like it's the idea you can be whatever you want to be.
Whatever I want to be, and this is where you end up. It's a self-destructive thing. Pride will self-destruct, just like the Bible says. Pride goes before a fall.
But we don't want to go there yet, because that's going to be the last point we're going to address for this topic.
But, looking at it though, like you're seeing how the root of it is a lot of times how like Satan is plaguing your minds with, your education, with your parent, with your upbringing and everything. Now we're like, you don't really see yourself as being proud since you were already raised this way, since you were already coming up this way. So anyone saying anything else to you, you're thinking something is wrong with them, because that's not what you describe pride to be. You're thinking this is a correct way of living. And so with your question, repeat it again, I'm going to address that now.
How does pride impact our mental health?
Now, how does it affect your mental health? Imagine you see yourself as important. You see yourself as important. I see myself as important. We in the same school. Since you see yourself as important, you believe you deserve this much. You deserve to come late. You deserve to be respected. But I also believe I deserve to come late. I deserve to be late. I deserve the grade. I deserve that. We will clash.
Yes.
So now that we have these clash, that's just an example. We have this clash. You feel like this person doesn't like me. This person is against me. So then now you have that human struggle where this is what I feel like in a grander scale that we're having. There's this human struggle. We think everyone is against us.
Yes.
And what does that make you feel? Because we are social beings. At the end of the day, God designed us to be able to live with others, to love others. But then when you start believing that everybody has something against me, that's going to make you feel some kind of way. Because now reality just hits.
But what happened to you? You start having paranoia.
So you believe every single person is out there scheming
to get you.
Now
you can't trust anybody.
You can't trust anyone. And I'm telling you, this trust issue is one of the biggest thing I'm looking at, even with Gen Z right now. The millennials, we have our own issues, but Gen Z right now have major trust issues. And this is where we're heading to. You have these trust issues where not only there's so many things that are faked on social media, with filters already, with, people putting words on people's lips with fake news and everything. And then now on top of it, you cannot trust people because people are evil. And unfortunately, that is the truth, where people are evil, right? But you start taking yourself outside of that evil. Because you're thinking yourself,
like you good, but everybody else is evil.
Exactly. Yes. So you think that I have that moral compass. I'm in the right. Everyone else is evil. And so you don't see how you yourself is playing in the same scene.
Yeah. And as we're speaking about all these things, how does pride impact our mental health? And we're speaking about, pride creates difficulties between you and others. Pride creates mistrust, and you create all these things. If we look at terms of relationship, like even marriage, even using that same concept, you see marriage is being devastated in the society, right? And it's because each person think that I'm the most important person in the relationship. And
we go after things for ourselves.
Yeah.
We go into marriages thinking that I'm going in there to be satisfied. I'm going in there to be made happy by the other person. You self-seeking. You start self-seeking, thinking that, I'm going to go in there for this person to make me happy. And there's this big void because, unfortunately, people will always disappoint. And that's simple. They're not God.
Yeah, but true, you can see that same mindset of Lucifer, where he was saying, okay, you know what? I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, right? So we're speaking about this mental health issue with pride. Somebody come into a marriage saying, they may profess it with their lips that I want to serve my husband, I want to serve my wife. But the reality is they're saying like, look, I want my husband or my wife to serve me.
Yeah.
I am the object of worship.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then once you go into like a relationship with that kind of attitude, then once the other person is not fulfilling your expectation,
Oh yeah, just get rid of them. They're not
Yeah,
making
because
me happy.
I'm not happy.
They're useless to you.
Yeah.
They're useless to you. And this is plaguing society in such a way that we can see it in everything. You start seeing it everywhere. In friendships, you start seeing it in business. You start seeing it in so many different ways. In churches, you start seeing that self-seeking behavior where I'm going in there because I have a goal. For example, with politics, the person goes in there because they have a goal, behaving like they want the good of these people. But no, this is something that you've designed for yourself. This is, I'm going into this position in the church because I have a goal. And then when things go different, you start feeling like, okay, no, that's not what I want to do.
It's what I want.
It's what I want to do. Exactly. And so because of that, you start having a clash of minds where, people cannot get along and nothing can ever get done. And, unfortunately, like I said, this is in the churches as well. You're seeing in churches, pastors are self-seeking. We see how all these guys are after church members' tithes money. You can see how they are after people's worship. You can see with the many cults that have existed in the past, it looks like, oh, I'm in your best interest, but then, I'm looking for myself. So the moment you start feeling important, you stop feeling important, then you're like, okay, these people are no good.
Yes. And we're speaking about how does pride impact our mental health. If you look at Adam and Eve, Lucifer, he was selling merchandise, right? In his merchandise, you could see was pride.
Yeah.
He's selling this idea that life is about you. You are the center of the universe and not God, right? And when he came with that product to Adam and Eve in the garden, he basically said, look, I have something for you. You know that tree? If you eat that tree, you will be like God. You will be your own master. Life will be about you. You will have the knowledge of good and evil, right?
Right.
But what happened as soon as Adam and Eve ate of the tree? You saw divisions among them, right? You saw fear.
Yeah.
So as we are transitioning to now, where does pride lead? Because we are speaking about society's mental descent. As soon as Adam and Eve ate of the tree, they had fear. They had a feeling of emptiness.
Yeah.
They had feelings of worthlessness. And they had blame.
Mistrust.
They had mistrust.
Yeah.
Mistrust with God and mistrust with each other. They were trying to cover themselves from each other, right? And you could say that they were experiencing all types of anxiety and issues, right?
Paranoia.
And the Bible called it a fall. Bible called it a fall.
And this is where the verse comes in.
Exactly.
Pride goes before a fall.
Exactly.
That's the reality of it. And the sooner we realize that we are proud and that we are in need of Jesus, we're so quick to tell people, oh, you need Jesus. Well, I need Jesus.
That's the truth.
I need Jesus too. You need Jesus. We all need Jesus. And it's so interesting to me that the people, the one person who deserved the glory, the honor, and praise, all the majesty, walked amongst men as a very meek and lowly man.
This is why people didn't accept him, because they couldn't believe that God, who is all powerful, how can God, who's so powerful, is so meek and lowly?
Yeah. I want to say so much in this, in the sense where, I'm not afraid to be exposed. I'm proud. I'm sure you're proud. Babe, you are proud.
It's a human condition.
You know it. We're proud, and my thing is we have to start analyzing, what is it that's causing that? And for us to start finding a solution. Because that feeling of self-importance, that feeling of, that I deserve this and I deserve that. If you have mistrust in your life, that's a symptom.
Yes.
If you have, paranoia, that's a symptom. Anxiety could be a symptom.
Yes.
Like I said, we already discussed this. We're not talking about hormonal imbalance or whatever. But depression could be a symptom, where you feel like your needs are not being met, where the things that I want are not being met, and I deserve this and I deserve that, and interestingly, we were talking earlier about Nebuchadnezzar. I love Nebuchadnezzar because I could see myself in a way in him. I love Nebuchadnezzar because you look at him, he did actually accomplish the things he did want to.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody saw Nebuchadnezzar, they would have said, I don't see anything with what he's saying. The man has the right for the clout.
Mm-hmm.
He has the kingdoms. He has the rulership. He has the glory. He has the praise. However, his fall to us looked like a physical fall because he actually did eat grass.
Mm-hmm.
But then for many people, that doesn't happen. The fall is spiritual.
Yes.
Where you cannot see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're thinking this person is okay. God is blessing them. But spiritually, they have fallen.
I want to mention something as you were speaking about that, right? So you have Nebuchadnezzar, who was a great king. He's surrounded by people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then now the greater he's become in terms of like his physical prosperity,
Mm-hmm.
the more morally he's collapsing, right?
Yeah.
And he came to a point where he was lonely.
Yes.
Because when God passed judgment on him, he became like a beast of the field eating
Yes.
grass, lonely. And one of the things we have in America now, people are very lonely.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not tracing their loneliness that they're having is coming from a proud heart.
Yeah.
Because when you are proud, you will eventually alienate everyone from your life.
Yeah.
Because people want, if you are living with people, right, and people are noticing you don't care about them,
Mm-hmm.
that you only care about yourself, they will detach yourself. They will detach themselves from you. And this is what's happening in our society. Everyone think that everyone else should revolve around them.
Yeah.
So eventually
You
are
will push
left,
people away.
you left lonely.
I had actually wrote a poem about this because I started realizing the more proud you are, the more you start building barriers.
Yes.
Because you start seeing this person as my enemy. Or they don't want to do what I want to do. And so, or they don't want to, they don't love me,
Mm-hmm,
and then so you start living in a way inside of a wall, and you end up caging yourself
mm-hmm.
in your circumstance.
Yes.
And you're thinking that, no, it's because people left me.
Mm-hmm.
No, people did not abandon you. Most times we push people away unknowingly. And I'm like I said, I'm not exempt from any of these things. And these are like lessons that you learn and that you start realizing, like, Lord, I need you.
Yeah. And you see these things like everywhere in life, really. You see it like in a marriage, you see it like in a job relationship. A lot of times to hire somebody to go into a position, the more proud they become and the more isolated they become. Mm-hmm. And in their isolation, they're thinking that it's these people who are the problem, when in reality it's the proud that are the problem. And to wrap it up, it's the same thing with Lucifer. Mm-hmm. As he was gaining followers in heaven, right? Mm-hmm. He's thinking in his mind, I'm becoming like God. Yeah. But in reality, he was descending from God. He was morally descending from God and becoming worse. So, guys, when we are speaking about mental health and society's moral descent, as our society become more proud, mental illness are increasing. Yes. Because we are becoming more proud, but we are descending mentally. Yeah. Okay. So any last words you want to say as we wrap up?
I'm just going to say this, that we all are proud. If you refuse to acknowledge that, that shows a deeper pride. Because that means you think that you're so good that there's no way I could be proud. Mm-hmm. We need to go to God in prayer. We need to let God, fix us, because this is not something that we can fix ourselves. Because if you look at it, you can keep trying as much as you want, but then you're gonna start feeling rejected. Mm-hmm. And that will make you even more retracting into yourself. Mm-hmm. And then the more you retract into yourself, now those illnesses, like Rick was saying earlier, those illnesses, those depression, that anxiety, that narcissistic tendency, all of these things will start to be what comes out of you. And I'm gonna tell you this, we cannot find the solution in ourselves. No. The solution is not in you. Mm-hmm. The solution is outside. The solution is in God. Pour into others, pour into God. Because the more you're pouring into yourself, the more self-seeking you become. Unfortunately, a lot of clinicians are, sending us into ourselves. They are making us think that we have the solution inside, or, medications and all of these things. I'm not disagreeing. Some of the things can help for a short time, but we have to get to the root of the problem. And when we get to the root of the problem, there is one solution for it. The plight of human sin, of human sickness, the human sickness, is not resolved by other human means. It's only resolved by God. So just, if you want to go inside, let it be for a self-examination.
Yes.
But if you think that, self-care and, I'm gonna give myself more importance, give myself more self-esteem, is gonna make me feel better, or it's gonna make me less depressed or less proud, or less narcissistic, or whatever the mental issue that you're dealing with. It doesn't work like that.
No,
it doesn't work like that, because you cannot find the solution in yourself. It's not in there. Find God. Just pray to God so that He can help you to overcome. And that way, we can actually help other people overcome. The other thing is also to learn to pour into God and pour into others. Don't go and start pouring into yourself, because that's going to make you retreat and giving yourself more importance, and that causes more loneliness. And you give yourself so much importance that other people will start going away from your life, and then next thing you know, you're left alone. And that's not the way that we are designed to be.
Yeah. So pride goes before fall.
Yeah.
The true cause of our increasing mental corruption, mental illness in the land, is because we have departed from the Lord, and we are making ourselves the center of attention, the center of the universe. We think that we are like God.
Yeah.
So thank you for having you here today to discuss this thing on pride. Next episode, we will talk about society's mental descent, depression. You don't want to miss that one.
Oh, yeah.
So once again, this is Think About It, and see you next time.
Next time. Bye.